Welcome back to the OTB channel. So last week I promised you some DWM goodness today, and that's exactly what this video is about. I'm going to show you what I've done with DWM 6.3, how I've used dwm-flexipatch to apply the various patches that I wanted on my build, and I'm also going to show you how you can use it too, should you wish to. See you after the intro. Right, welcome back everyone. I'm looking at a big piece of paper here in front of me on my desk that says, don't forget. And what that means is don't forget to say what I always intend to say and always completely forget to say. If you like the channel, guys, please like and subscribe. If you'd like to sling me a few bucks or a few quid, go to my Patreon page, patreon.com/OldTechBloke and set something up. Really appreciate it if you do. Right, let's get stuck in with this. I promised you DWM this week, and there's a couple of things that kind of fired me up to do this video. First of all, I bought another ThinkPad. I know that makes 7. It's my newest. It's not brand new. It's secondhand. It's as new. I don't know how old it is. It's an L490, which is like a budget version of a T-series, but without all the metallic bits and pieces. It's plastic, but nevertheless, it's great. It's the newest laptop I've got, and I had to obviously do a new build of DWM for a new laptop. But more than that, I noticed that DWM 6.3 has been released. I missed the exact date when it was released, and there's no change log. So I'll be honest, I'm not entirely sure what's changed since 6.2. I think it's probably just a version bump to take account of all the changes that have happened during 6.2. But nevertheless, now that it's had a version bump, obviously I had to install it. So I took my new laptop with Windows 10 on it and wiped that, put Endeavour on it to start off with the Mate desktop. And then I thought, right, new build of DWM. Am I going to go the traditional route, or am I going to go the FlexiPatch route? I had a look at FlexiPatch a few weeks ago in my Patch-tastic video. And I thought, no, it's going to have to be FlexiPatch because I've built DWM a few times myself manually, and whilst I love it, the patching process can be a bit of a pain, but with FlexiPatch, it's very easy. So I thought I'll have a play with different patches and come up with a new build. And that's essentially what I've done. And I'm putting it on this main workstation here while we're doing the video. And I'm going to take you through the process of what I've done. It's interesting, you know, I'm well aware that this video is only going to appeal to perhaps a small proportion of my regular subscribers. It's about a window manager, and window managers aren't as popular as desktop environments. But in my 18 years of being a Linux user, I've done a lot of hopping. I hopped around distros for the first 16, 17 of the 18 years, but finally settled in on Arch. I continued throughout that process to do desktop environment hopping and settled on Mate. And certainly for the last 2 years, I've done window manager hopping. And I've gone from i3 to BSPWM to Spectre WM to Xmonad to Qtile to Herbsluft WM to Left WM and of course DWM. And I think I'm at the stage now that I don't want to do any more window manager hopping. I had to choose one, and for me DWM does everything I need it to do, and I just feel comfortable in it. It's like the situation with distros. There is no best distro, best window manager, best desktop Say that again, best desktop environment. It's what you personally are comfortable with. And I think DWM is the dog's whatnots. It just works. I've got so comfortable in it now that if I swap back to a desktop environment, it just feels really clunky to me. I prefer the fact that DWM is just fast, it's snappy, it does everything I need it to do. And so I thought I'd do a little video to show you what I've got. I'm going to put my build up on my GitLab page, and if you want to give it a go as well, please do so by all means. Before we start that, though, let's go to the DWM webpage and have a quick look there. Right, so we're at the suckless.org website. And if you go to the DWM page, it'll tell you a little bit about what it is. It's essentially just a dynamic tiler. Dynamic meaning that you don't have to decide beforehand where you're going to locate your windows when you open them. It does it automatically in a number of set layouts. The set layout that tends to be default is a master and stack layout, very much like Xmonad. It doesn't tell you a huge amount about it, to be honest. You can install DWM from package managers, but the recommended way to do it is to install it from source, and because it's so easy. And yeah, that's about it really from here. You won't find a lot of documentation with DWM. The Suckless guys have this view that at the end of the day, the source code is the documentation. So if you want to know how it works, dig into the source code. You do get the idea, to be honest, that they don't really want you to ask any particular questions if you're not a programmer and you don't understand the code. But luckily, there's plenty of internet articles out there if you Google them, and there's various YouTube videos so you can get to grips with it. It comes in a very minimal form. It's usable, but it's really minimal, and most people apply patches to it, as you're aware. And that's probably the downside of DWM as far as I'm concerned, because it can take quite a while. But not only that, you've got to be careful with the patches. You can't add too many because they might conflict with each other, and not all of them necessarily work. And it took me quite a long time to build my first version of DWM on my own, and which was why I was raving really about my discovery of this little repo, dwm-flexipatch by Bakerby, which works in a slightly different way, in as much as all you have to do to pick your patches here is to open up the config file, and there's literally a list of patches there, and you just, if you want a patch to run, you set it to 1, and you go through the patch config, and once you've chosen what you want, you simply do your sudo make install, and everything should work. I saw a couple of comments when I produced my video, Patch-tastic. You'll find it in my videos. I did it a month or so ago. And some people saying it's a great idea, but I found that dwm-flexipatch doesn't always work with all patches, and it ignores some. I can't say I've had that problem. I've been playing with it, like I say, for the last month, and every patch that I've tried seems to work fine in it. So yeah, that's what I've used. Right, new laptop, DWM 6.3. It's time to create a new build and to stick it up on GitLab. So that's what I've done. And you'll find, I'll put the link to my GitLab page here. You'll find that I've created a repo called Suckless Builds FlexiPatch. And what I've done is I've stuck my version of DWM and also ST up here. I don't use ST that often. I mainly use Alacrity, but Bakerby also does a FlexiPatch build of ST, and I wanted that to give that a try, so that's included here as well. And what I've done with this, as I say, it uses Alacrity, so that's different from the standard DWM config, which will use ST. And I also have changed it around so that the mod key rather than Alt is the super key, the Windows key. And I've applied, well, basically 12 patches, which I have to say I wouldn't dream of applying manually. But they all seem to have worked on this particular build. And just to explain what they are, first of all, I've applied the Status 2D patch, and that's a patch that allows you to apply colour to the status items on your bar, so you don't need to use coloured emojis. You can just colour the standard awesome icons. I thought I'd play by putting a system tray in as well. I see there's a system tray patch. I don't use one generally these days, but I like the option. I use a multi-monitor setup when I'm not on a laptop, and I wanted the status bar to appear on all of my monitors. So status all mons is built in here. Bar status padding, well, that just allows me to alter the gap really between the text and the horizontal and vertical edges of the bar. So that's just, a little tweak. Attach aside, that changes the format of the default master and stat layout. The default one is that every time you open a new window, it appears as the master window on the left-hand side of the stack. I wanted new windows to actually open up in the stack itself, and the attach aside patch allows you to do that. The auto start patch is pretty self-explanatory, so you want to start PyCom, you want to start nitrogen to set your wallpaper, and so on and so forth. You'll need to install that. I've got a patch there to cycle through my layouts, and it comes by as standard with tiling layout, the monocle layout, which is essentially full screen, and also the floating layout. I've got a restart signal patch there. What that does is after I've recompiled, you do need to recompile DWM every time you make a change to the config. Rather than having to kind of log out and re-log in, I can simply restart DWM with a key binding from within. I can rotate my stack around. I can now add scratch pads. I'd never played with scratch pads before, and they're these sort of hidden windows that exist on a workspace that I suppose is hidden as well, and you can just bring them up very, very quickly and work with them. It seems to work for me. Have a read of the patch documentation by all means. Tag other monitor patch. As I say, I work with a multi-monitor setup, and that allows me to send a window from one monitor straight to another monitor, irrespective of what workspace the current monitor and the monitor I want to send it to is on. The vanity gaps patch, last but not least, just allows me to fiddle about and play with gaps around the windows. So I've got my version here. To try and help you out, I've also created a .pro file there, a desktop file. What you'll find is I've got a DWM scripts file for my bar scripts. You don't have to use them. In the .local share folder, you've got an auto start file. And in the .config, you've got a DWM folder and an ST folder. And I almost forgot. I've made a little change to the standard DWM layout, and I got my inspiration from Matt on the Linux cast, where I've actually created a separate directory in the configuration called themes, and I've included some theme files which literally just have the configuration, the color configuration, which is normally in your config.h. So thanks for that, Matt. And I import whichever one of these files I want, whichever color scheme I want at the beginning of my config.h. I found it works very well. And to be honest, I've done it with ST as well. So all you need to do with this is you need to clone it. And I've cloned it to my downloads folder. And let's go and have a look at what you do next. Right, so let's make a start. What you see here is actually my Mate desktop environment. So we'll start with this and then move on to DWM once we're sorted. Yes, I know it doesn't look much like Mate, but that's me. I customize everything. So I've done a git clone of the suckless bills flexipatch repo that you've got the link to in my video description, and basically it mirrors what you've just seen on the web page. You've got a .profile file. Drop that into your home directory. If I open it up here, let's just open it up with Genie. You'll see it's pretty straightforward. I've put my bin folder in my path, my DWM scripts folder in my path, and also USR local bin. Okay, so that's the first thing. If you're going to run a bar with DWM, a customized bar, you need some way of getting to your scripts, so your scripts will need to be in your path. I've then created a desktop file, and we'll open that with Genie as well. And you can see it's very simple. Because you're compiling this from source, it's not automatically going to put a desktop file in USR share X sessions. So if you want to access DWM from LightDM or some other login manager, you'll need to drop that in USR share X sessions. What else have I got? I've got a DWM scripts folder, which contains the various bars. You've got DWM Bar, and you've also got DWM Bar 2, and a range of other scripts. And then you've got a .local directory. I've tried to keep this repo in the sort of order that you'll have it on your desktop. So if you go to your own .local share folder and you drop in this DWM folder, all it's got is an auto start script, and I've kept this quite simple. I'm starting PyCon, I'm merging my X resources, which you may or may want to do. I've included a polkit agent. I'm using the Mate polkit agent, but if you've got another desktop environment installed, you may want to use that. Have a look under polkit agents on the Arch wiki, and it'll tell you what path to put in here for the various ones. You can use any. It just means that if you need to authenticate, you'll get a little box to type your password if you run something like that needs it. I'm starting nitrogen. I'm setting my UK keyboard, and I'm starting DWM Bar 2, which is actually the bar that has all the awesome icons that are coloured, rather than the ones with the emojis. Right, now then we get to the main part of it, the config folder, or the .config folder. And here you have a DWM folder and an ST folder. Just drop both of those into your .config folder on your machine. I already had both of these, so I just renamed them old and drop them in as is. So that's that. Next, you need to open a terminal. So let's just make this a little bit bigger and make it a little bit more readable. So CD into your .config folder, and let's go to DWM. You do exactly the same if you want to install the ST terminal, by the way. And once I'm in here, you can see that all the files are there. The first thing I want to do is run make, which doesn't take very long at all. Then sudo make clean install. Oops. There we go. And that's it. So that's all it takes. You've dropped the source code into your .config folder. You've made it. You've compiled it from source. You've got a desktop entry in USR share X sessions. You've sorted out your .profile file so that all your paths are correct. All we need to do now is to log out and log into our brand new DWM. So here we are, into our brand new DWM 6.3. And you can see it started up without a problem. It's showing up my custom awesome icons in the tags section, workspaces in other words, which by default are just 1, 2, 3, 4, but I much prefer a graphical look to them. I've restricted it to 6 workspaces rather than the standard 9 because that's all I need. We've then got DWM Bar 2 running, and again we've got awesome icons. I've coloured them using the standard status 2D patch configuration options, and I'll show you how I did that in a second. I've also, you can see automatically there, we've also got a system tray working, which I don't usually use. Normally, I run DWM without a system tray, but I thought, why not this time? I've not got anything else running, the NM applet or anything like that. But if you wanted to run them, all you'd need to do is add them to your auto start script, and they would start up with the window manager. So what else did I want to test? I wanted to test this scratch pad functionality. So if I hit Windows Z, it opens up a terminal. Hit Windows Z again, it disappears. If I hit Windows Y, that opens up a Pulse Mixer, which I can control my audio from. Hit Y again, it disappears. What else have I added? HTOP. You can see it's running at 1.4 gigs at the moment. To be honest, that's quite high, and that's because I'm running OBS and I'm also running Firefox with quite a few tabs open on another workspace here. On my laptops, when I'm just running DWM and nothing else, it uses on average about 260 mega RAM, so it seems to be pretty light. So let me just shut that down. Oh yeah, I've got Ranger here as well. So if I want a file manager, I've got that. So the system tray's working and the scratch pads are working. Other than that, it's a standard DWM. You open all the terminals, and these are Alacrity terminals, simply by hitting Super Enter. By default, it's set to ST, but I've changed everything to use Alacrity, even the scratch pads. And yeah, you move around, with Super Key, JK, etc. So I could do something like that, and then move across to, or change the size of them with H and L. Or I could just move across to there and do, I don't know, DF, and move across again to the one at the bottom and, I don't know, list. Whatever you wanted to do. If I wanted to rotate them, I just do Super, Alt, and JKL, or sorry, J and K to get to where I need to be. If I wanted to send one of these windows over to another monitor, dead simple as well. I've set up the config so it allows you to do that. I would simply hit Super, Shift, and either the comma or the full stop. I think you call that the the period. We don't use the word period in this country. It means something entirely different. So all good as far as that's concerned. I can shut them down simply with Super W. I can change the workspace to monocle so that everything is full screen. I can also go into floating mode, so it just acts like a normal desktop. And if I was to open, I don't know, File Manager, you can drag them around with your mouse. You can move them up and down. You can do whatever you want. Or you can go back to tiling, which is what I normally do. So it works really well. Obviously, if you decide to go for this build, adjust the key bindings to suit yourself. Have a look through to see what some of my custom shortcuts are pointing to. you may not have the particular scripts. For instance, I've got my Rofi edit there. So if I wanted to, edit alacrity, there you go. What else have I got? Oh, yeah, my little Rofi beats with my radio links, MPV radio links. It doesn't really matter, though, what's on my script. Do whatever you need to do with it. Now, in terms of this bar up here, it's pretty straightforward, to be honest. If I can just show you this, I'll make this a little bit bigger, just so that it's easier to see. I'm going to CD into my DWM scripts folder. Oops. And I'm going to open up, let's use Micro, the editor, why not? DWM Bar 2. And the way I've put this together is pretty simple, to be honest. You don't have to use your own custom script if you don't want to for your DWM bar. There are several utilities out there. One called DWM blocks, another SL status. SL status is really easy to use. But I just wanted to, basically create something of my own. We'll just make that a little bit bigger. And what this has is it has a number of entries in it for the CPU, the memory, the hard drive, the temperature, the volume, and updates. Oh, and the clock, of course. You'll see that I've got a couple of entries here that I've commented out, and they are really to do with a laptop. There's not a battery on my workstation, so I didn't need that entry showing. And the screen brightness entry for my brightness function keys on my ThinkPad, I don't want that there. But the key thing about this is I do want updates. I've just done an update, actually, so you can see it's showing none. What I've actually done here is created a double loop, because the script as a whole, if you go down to exec root, it runs every 5 seconds, basically. And so it keeps everything updated there every 5 seconds, which you certainly need for your RAM and your CPU and things like that. But I've got an update script running as well. And I didn't want to be battering the Arch Linux update servers every 5 seconds. So what I've done at the top here, I've created a separate little loop, and I've run the script. It's called Qtile Updates on my system here, because that's basically the update script without any sort of icon included on it. And what I'm basically doing is I'm just running that once an hour, 3,600 seconds, and I'm getting it to dump the output into a text file, DWM updates text. So that just runs once an hour. The rest of this stuff runs every 5 seconds, and I do have updates included there. I've called the variable that runs pack for Pac-Man, and essentially all I'm doing then is getting it to loop and feed in the text file, the contents of the text file. So it's not actually battering the servers every 5 seconds. So this was a little bit of an experiment for me, because I thought, rather than having lots of separate scripts, let's all just put them in one, and it just becomes a lot cleaner. I have also got my original DWM bar there, so DWM bar, and this is essentially based on the same sort of things. I did have a weather option there. I've deleted the weather script, to be honest, but it doesn't matter. I shall just comment that out. What this does is, rather than having the scripts embedded in this single bar script, this calls on separate scripts that are in my DWM scripts folder. Doesn't really matter how you do it. Either way works. And I have to say, I've been going with the emojis for quite a while now, but That was essentially because I couldn't get colour working initially when I started to compile DWM with the colour status patch I was using. But the status 2D patch works really well, and I'm pretty happy about how that looks. Just to give you a very quick look at what the difference is. So if I kill that script, kill all DWM Bar 2, and I run DWM Bar, which is the standard one, it should change. And there you go. And you can see all the emojis there that I've had before. I've got to be honest, I think I prefer the new version, just using the coloured awesome icons. I think it's less garish. Ultimately up to you, though. Anyway, let's go and have a chat. Actually, before we have a chat, I did say I was going to show you how to use that status 2D patch to put colours onto the bar. So let me just quickly show you that. So micro, DWM scripts, DWM Bar 2. Right. So where this comes in, that status 2D script, is it allows you to colour the standard awesome icons. And all you do is, you can see I've started the colouring after the pipe symbol. You use the standard hex colour, but in front of the hex colour you put, I think it's called a caret, the upwards arrow, a caret and a C, followed by the hex number, and then at the end of the hex number you put another caret. That will apply whatever colour that you've put in there across the whole bar until you tell it to stop. Now, because I've got lots of different colours here, essentially what I've done is I've told it to stop once it's put in the output of the CPU there. And you tell it to stop by hitting caret, D, and caret again. And you can see I've followed that same process for every single item on the bar. And yeah, that gives me the multiple colours. So yeah, that's it. Let's go and have that chat now. Right, guys, so that's DWM-flexipatch and a little bit of uber geekery today. You'll get the impression I'm really happy with this build, and I am. It's working very well on all of my laptops. The great thing about something like DWM, it's almost distro agnostic. You can use it on anything. I've got it on Slackware, Void, and Arch-based systems. No difference. It works the same on all of them. One thing that I should mention that you probably will need to install that won't be installed by default is if you use the bar scripts, you will need to install xorg xsetroot, which probably isn't already on your machine. But that's it. Other than that, it should compile fine. So enjoy, and I'll look forward to your comments, especially from those who actually try my build. Right, so that's it for now, guys. I'll see you next weekend. And just before we go, I would like to thank all my existing patrons that you see on the page in front of you now. Thanks, guys. Your help has been really appreciated and continues to be. So, see you next weekend, guys. Cheers.